Greetings comic book fans, I'm Jason and welcome to my comic book reviews for the third week in February 2015. It is a horrible day here in the UK, but I'm going to make it a bit brighter because I'm going to talk about the comics I got this week. We're going to kick things off a bit different this week. We're going to go with Marvel, then we're going to go with the indies, and then we're going to finish this whole show off with DC Comics. So, without further ado, let's get to those reviews. So here we are with the reviews of the books from Marvel. 10 books to get through this week. First things first, the first book is a book I've been hearing a lot of good things about. I've been tempted for some time to kind of jump on board and try out the book, but I've always just stopped. But this week I took the plunge and I'm glad I did. That book is Ms.Marvel. Now I picked up this week's issue 12. I managed to track down issues 9, 10, 11 on eBay because the first 7 books are on Marvel Unlimited, so I can read them on there until I get paid, and then I'll probably try and track down the issues. But I did manage to get from my comic book shop there issue 1. This is a variant edition. I'm not sure if it's a first printing or one of the following printings. I did see, I think it was a 6th print of the first issue with this similar cover, but it was different colour writing, I think, and that was going for 16 quid, and this only cost me £4 for my comic book shop. So I picked that up and I read this and I thought it sets up the series really nicely, introduces Kamala. I really like the whole thing of the fact that she's a Muslim, because I feel that there are a lot of bad people in the world. Some of them are Muslims, some of them aren't. And just because a few of the bad people in the world are Muslims doesn't kind of condemn the whole religion. You know, there's still a lot of nice Muslims out there. And I think a book like this, that is fun, that is a superhero and is a fun book, can kind of, through us enjoying the story, can also help educate us a bit more about Muslims and what it's like to be a Muslim living in America in the 21st century. So yeah, I really like that first issue. They also had issue number 7, which I really liked. Because one of the things I like about Kamala Khan is how kind of bright and hopeful she is. So kind of putting her with a character like Wolverine, who's this grizzled veteran who's quite cynical in his views, I really liked that kind of chemistry the two characters had, and that was really good. That was issue 7. So I enjoyed those 2 books I read before I got into this one, issue number 12. And this is kind of like a one and done story, and it's a lot of fun. And it definitely, for me, the main character of Kamala definitely gives me the vibe of a Faith from Valiant, and I really like that character as well. And they have that same kind of innocence about them, but also the whole book kind of gives me that vibe of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is a really good thing to have. I love how Kamala is written here. This issue we get Loki as a guest star. And basically what happens is Loki has to go to make sure that the inventor isn't still around, because they feel he could be a threat to Asgard with the technology he was developing. So he has to make sure that there's no spies left in the school of the inventors. And so he goes to he ends up at the Valentine's Day ball, and he poisons the punch and puts this kind of truth elixir in there. So everybody starts telling the truth, and kind of this brings him then to blows with Ms.Marvel. Really fun book, like I say. A great supporting cast to the book, which again is one of the things that reminded me of Buffy. The whole high school setting and the great supporting cast, which are very similar to Buffy. I really like the character of Bruno, who's Ms.Marvel's best friend, and one of the few people that knows she's a superhero as well as a high school student. I like he's in love with her, but she only sees him as a friend, and I've been there, I've done that, and it's very painful. And so I really felt for Bruno, and I liked his character, really good. All in all, this was a really fun series, and there's not enough fun in the world. So yeah, I'm loving this, definitely. I've added it to my pull list already, and I'd give Ms.Marvel issue number 12 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Silver Surfer, issue number 9. Last issue, Dawn learnt the truth of Silver Surfer's past, and they kind of separated. went their separate ways. She kind of doesn't want to know him anymore. And we saw that Galactus had been following Surfer and had found this planet where all these survivors from the planets that Galactus has eaten are living. This issue, we kind of see Surfer trying to make amends to these people by trying to defend them from Galactus. There's a great kind of bit where he meets up with Dawn again, and a double page spread, and he gives her all of his past, which is really, really cool. I really enjoyed seeing all of that. That was just excellent. There's a great moment in here where Silver Surfer surfs a moon. He uses a moon to go into battle against Galactus, and he's basically surfing a moon as he goes after Galactus, which is brilliant. The art throughout here is just great all the way through. I'm really loving both the art and how it's coloured. Michael and Laura Aldridge makes us a great team, and they just make this book look so beautiful. In like, it's bright and it's vibrant, but then it's also exciting. I just really love the art here. By the end of the book, things are looking pretty bleak for our characters, but I'm super hooked and really looking forward to next issue. And this is developing into a really good series, and I give Silver Surfer issue number 9 5 stars out of 5. So next up, we stick out in space, and we have a Rocket Raccoon issue number 8. And this wraps up the story nicely. Last issue we saw Groot got bit poisoned and he's gonna die, so Rocket has to go on this quest to get this egg, or the yolk from this egg, that will hopefully cure Groot. And this princess called Jinx, or Jink, I think that's how you pronounce it, she teams up with Rocket to go after this. This wraps up the story really nicely. I enjoyed how they wrapped it up. I thought Jink and Rocket made a good team, and they played off each other really well. I know there was some really good dialogue between the two, and some funny moments. There's not much to the story. It's basically them getting to where they've got to get to, getting the yolk, and getting back. That's pretty much all there is to the story. But it wraps everything up nicely, and is a lot of fun. That last page is the thing that really makes it interesting going forward. That has really got me intrigued and where we're going with that. But yeah, so like I say, nicely wraps things up, if it doesn't really do too much. So I'd give Rocket Raccoon issue number 8 4 stars out of 5. So next up we have Magneto issue number 15, and Cullen Bunn continues this great series he's writing. Another great issue. I really love his style, the way he'll use like flashbacks to kind of really emphasize what's happening in the present and really play into the story that we're reading in that issue. Also, the way he writes Magneto's inner monologues is just fantastic, and I really enjoyed that. There's some real nice twists and turns in the tale here. I kind of had a feeling, excuse me, excuse me, I really had the feel here, or well, like last issue, sorry, that Magneto let himself get captured, and this issue we learn why, and there's some really nice twists with that, and again some more flashbacks. Magneto is just badass. At times his actions are uncomfortable and things you can't really justify, but and this is where the book makes it so interesting, is that you kind of understand what Magneto's saying, and you'll agree with a lot of it. You know, you'll agree with a lot of what he's saying about what's been done to mutants and that. But then sometimes some of his methods, make you a bit uneasy, like, because you can't really cheer that because it's a bit too brutal. So I'm liking that interest there, that how they're writing it. It's quite complex, and your emotions for the character and for the book will change as you're reading it. At times, really good. All in all, this was another really great issue, and to a great series. Definitely worth checking out in trade if you haven't been picking it up. And I give Magneto issue number 15 5 stars out of 5. So next up, sticking with the mutants, we have Uncanny X-Men issue number 31. This was a bit of a letdown. First of all, that cover. If you was going to buy the book because you saw the cover and you think you're going to get some Summer on Summers action, don't buy it, because what we see on the cover isn't in the book. Havoc isn't even in the book, and for most of the book, Cyclops is still dead. So yeah, don't buy the book based for the cover. The cover looks cool, but it has nothing to do with what's inside it. And Marvel have done this a few times lately, had covers that are a bit deceiving, and they need to stop it. It's very naughty, because it makes people, if they're ordering their books online, so they can't flick through it and have a look. If they're ordering their books online and they order this because the cover, oh yeah, that looks like something I'd like to see, and then there's nothing of that in here, they're going to be a bit disappointed. So yeah, it's very naughty, Marvel. You need to stop that. Before I go on, this will spoil the issue somewhat. I can't review this issue without spoiling it a bit, so I apologise. Maybe flick forward to the next book if you don't want to get this spoiled. This issue, we had this brilliant story going on. Xavier's will's been read. We find out he's married to Mystique. We find out that there's this secret mutant called Matthew Malloy that Xavier was controlling so that he forget that he was a mutant, because his powers are so big that it just could destroy the world. And this character now, without Xavier in the world, no longer can control himself, and so far we've seen Cyclops, Magic and Emma Frost all get canned. So this issue, how are we going to deal with that? Now Eva went into the past and she got the young Charles Xavier to kind of bring him to the present to kind of fix this. And this issue, we get everything gets reversed by just one time journey, and basically he kind of erases everything that happened, and all those issues, they don't mean nothing next, they never happened, and that is a bit messed up if you ask me. It is more than a bit messed up. You know, all that time you've invested into the story was for nothing. Oh look, we fixed it all, time travel, hey! And it just, I didn't like it. I know some people might like how they did it, and it was a way, but it's a plot device that's been used so much in the past, and also it's kind of like, I don't find it very original. To me, it's a bit of a cop out. That, oh yeah, we're gonna solve this problem we've created by resetting everything. Yay! Nah, I didn't like that. That was disappointing. However, there were positives about this issue. I really like the character of Eva Bow, and I think she's definitely the best thing that Bendis has added to the X-Men universe. She's so good in this issue. Her scene at the end with Cyclops, oh wow, talk about intense. And she's really become an interesting character. I'm going to be very interested in what happens to her. There are some interesting consequences coming out of the book. Basically, Cyclops gets left the Jean Grey school, and he hands it over to Storm and asks that she takes on the students he was training. So like the kind of thing is now, what's going to become of Cyclops and his team and his mission and this book? And are we still going to follow those young X-Men, or are they going to be followed in another book? So there's a lot of questions going forward to this and what's going to happen next. But all in all, I enjoyed bits of this, but I was really disappointed with most of it. But I think probably the good resurrected it enough, saved it enough, but it was a bit of a disappointment, and I'd give Uncanny X-Men issue number 31 3 stars out of 5. Next up we have Iron Fist, the Living Weapon, issue number 9. I've been enjoying this series. I love the whole idea of having a book done that is written, that is illustrated, that is inked and is coloured by one person, and that's one of the things that really attracts me to the book. I love the art in here and the usage of colour and the way that it's all kind of like laid out. The fight scenes are just excellent. And like I say, the usage of colour really adds a lot of emphasis into certain scenes. Really good. I'm really loving the art, and that just having that united vision is really interesting. As a total kung fu feel, as you'd expect for maybe an Iron Fist book, but yeah, it definitely felt like a kung fu movie to me, and I loved seeing him and Swallow, like they were kicking ass. There's some fantastic scenes, some really interesting twists. Like there's a twist at the beginning that I just did not see coming. As we get flashbacks to the past, that again, similar to how Colin Bunn does it in Magneto, there's kind of flashback to the past that kind of illustrate what's happening now. I was a bit confused about the identity of the One. I still don't quite know. I'm wondering, is it that creation of foods that we see at the beginning? Is that supposed to be the one? But yeah, it hasn't totally been made clear yet. Or maybe that's just me not grasping it. Maybe I read it too quickly. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this book. Really good series. If you like your kung fu action, this is definitely one to check out. I give Iron Fist: The Living Weapon, issue number 9, 4 stars out of 5. So next up we have Deathlok, issue number 5, and this was a really good issue. Story's really gripping this issue. Last issue, Domino shot Deathlok in the head. He doesn't know that he's a Deathlok. They kind of biotech keep him kind of so he doesn't remember that he's a Deathlok. But she shot him in the head, and that has real big consequences this issue, as biotech are trying to cover everything up so that it doesn't all come out about Deathlok. But our SHIELD agent is on the case, so you know there's some really cool whipping stuff as they're trying to fix everything. And at the end then we have this really sweet scene that comes out of like just totally unexpected. It just hits you, which is really cool, and just made me really eager to get the next issue, which every book really is the aim of every book. Yeah, the twist at the end is just fantastic. My only complaint is there were a bit of problems with the art this issue. I've really enjoyed Perkins' art so far, but this issue, I don't know if it was rushed, because Marvel have a bit of a mean schedule. I don't know if the art was rushed, but yeah, I was a bit disappointed with the art here. It didn't look as good as it has. But all in all, this is shaping up to be a really interesting series, and I give Deathlok issue number 5 4 stars out of 5. So next up we have Black Widow issue number 15, which just continues to be a great book. Black Widow is going after Chaos, but they've got these invisible soldiers that are causing her a bit of a problem. At the end of last issue, this issue we have a nice cameo from another hero who helps Black Widow kind of keep chasing Chaos. There's some nice twists with the story. As soon as we get answers, they just provide more questions with this book, and that's what this issue does. You know, just as we seem to be getting more information of who's behind Chaos, and we get more questions, and yeah, that's a good thing to do. And it definitely grips you and makes you want to find out more. The art in this book is so pretty, so unique. It's almost kind of like a watercolor, the way that the art is done by Noto. I'm trying to look for like a page that doesn't spoil anything. But yeah, the art as a kind of like almost watercolor kind of feel, the way that it's done. But yeah, I really like the art here in this book. It's just been fantastically consistent from issue 1. And all in all, this is a really good series, and I give Black Widow issue number 15 5 stars out of 5. So our penultimate Marvel book is She-Hulk issue number 12. This is the final issue of She-Hulk, and it gives us a very nice conclusion. It really ties everything, well, almost everything up, that we get to find out what the blue file is, and we get all our answers there, and that part of the story is concluded nicely. We don't get the mystery of who Annie is answered, which frustrated me a bit. If we knew for sure we were going to get another series of this, and that was going to be followed up, then you'd be okay. But the fact that at the moment this could be it for She-Hulk with Charles Soule, I would have liked that to have maybe been a bit more tied up, who and what Annie is, because here she really helps She-Hulk out big time in this story. I liked the villain in here, the one behind the blue fire, and I liked his motives. I thought that was a real interesting twist. Rather than wanting to take over the world, I like what they did here. And I thought Polito on art, I really liked how he done the book. It's still, the colouring and everything is really nice, but I like some of the layouts here. I thought were really cool and really well done. But all in all, yeah, this was a very good last issue. Sad to see it go, but I give She-Hulk issue number 12 5 stars out of 5. And finally, our final Marvel book this week is All New Captain America issue number 4. I love the Sam's inner monologue here. Really gets inside the head of Captain America and lets us know who he is and his motives and everything. That's really cool. Last issue we saw Hydra. I've got this blood of this Inhuman that can basically make people infertile. and Hydra are going to use this as a weapon to take people that they see as undesirable and making it so that they can't have children, so they die out, so that the human race would just be Hydra, which is a bit of a scary thought. And I love it because it's just the kind of bonkers Nazi plan you'd expect. So I like that. And this issue, Sam and Misty Knight, is it? They are off to kind of get to all the different locations and to stop it. There's some really nice confrontations. I love the confrontation with Armadillo and how that turned out. That was really cool, and I'm hoping we'll come back to the consequences of that later on. The end of the book gives you all kinds of questions, some killer twists, and you're kind of left wondering, well, okay, things aren't looking good for our new Captain America at all, are they? Zemo in this issue is just really evil, and there's no redeemable qualities at all with that character, and he's just a real bad man. But yeah, I'm still enjoying this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to kind of answer what happened on the last page. And I give All New Captain America issue number 4 5 stars out of 5. So those are my Marvel books. Next up, we're going to go indies. So next up, we got indie reviews. We've got 7 books from the indies this week. First up, from Titan Comics, we have Doctor Who, 10th Doctor, issue number 7. This continues the current story they've been doing with the Weeping Angels during World War II. I like the beginning of this, how we get to see what happened to those 2 soldiers from last issue, and what happened to them when they were zoomed back in time. So that was really cool, and you kind of get an idea of what the Angels are doing. They explain well who the Angels are, though I kind of did think, well, if you've never watched Doctor Who, why would you be buying the book in the first place? But hey, you need to make it accessible, I understand. I think the characterization of the 10th Doctor is spot on, and I'm really liking Gabby as a companion. She's really great. It has a very classic Who feel, with the whole base under siege kind of thing, as the Angels are closing in on them and taking them out one by one. I really like that. And it's a very, very good issue. I feel Titan have done a great job with these books, and this just continues that great level that you've expected from Titan now. And I give Doctor Who 10th Doctor issue number 7 5 stars out of 5. So next up, we have from Image, we have Lazarus issue number 15. This issue was a very quick read because a lot of it's the fight scenes. So it's a quick read, but it's gripping all the way through. The tension they get in here during those fight scenes, because there's so many consequences. Whichever way this trial by combat goes, there's so many consequences that you could see here. So you're gripped all the way through it. The conclusion is shocking. I didn't see it coming, and it was really shocking, but it has me excited for the future and where this book's going to go. Really great series, definitely one worth checking out in trade if you've not been reading it. And I give Lazarus issue number 15 5 stars out of 5. Next up, from Valiant, we have Unity issue number 15. This was really great. I'm still quite new to Valiant, so I don't know everything about all the characters, and this issue gives us a real kind of intense look at Ninjak. And it follows on from last issue where they had that big battle with the United, and this looks at how that affected Ninjak, and we really get inside the character's head and learn a lot more about him. He's not just this badass ninja. There's more to his character than that, and I really liked learning more about him, and that was really cool. You could argue it's a missable issue because it doesn't continue any overarching story. It just looks at this character. But, you know, for somebody like me who's really new to Valiant, I found it invaluable because it let me know a lot more about Ninjak and got me really excited for the ongoing series. Cause the writer on this is going to be the writer on the Ninjak series, so that got me looking forward even more to the new series that's coming out next month. But yeah, this was another good issue. I really enjoyed it, and I give Unity issue number 15 4 stars out of 5. Next up, also from Valiant, we have Ivar Timewalker issue number 2. There's some very interesting science in here, and you can't fast read this. You have to kind of take your time, take things in, because like I said, there was some very interesting and complicated science in here, and certainly stuff that I want to kind of go and look into. I love my science and my history are two of the things that I really enjoy learning about. I don't know as much as I would like about either subject, but they're two things that I find anytime I see anything related to science or history, I mean, you've got me. And this book combines the two, so it's got me. The art I did feel was a bit rough in places, this issue, which was a bit disappointing, but a very enjoyable series. Ivar is a very interesting character, and I like the principles they're introducing, and while it does in some ways have a Doctor Who feel, because at times with the Doctor you don't always know, can you trust him, or he does seem a bit alien in the way he reacts to things. You get that same kind of vibe with Ivar, but there's enough differences here that give it its own vibe as well. Like some of the technology and everything gives it its own vibe. They've got me hooked for this series. I'm really enjoying it, and I give this book 4 stars out of 5. So our final Valiant book of the week is The Valiant, issue number 3. Once again, the presentation is fantastic. You have like book 3 here, and in the back you have this whole real cool kind of bit, kind of like Jeff Lemire talking. They're kind of like, you know, you'd have the commentary on some of like the DVDs. It's kind of like that, looking at the bits he wrote and his thought process. The one disappointment is my middle page came out, which is disappointing. I don't know if that's to do with the type of cover they've got, because it's a harder cover. But that's the second issue in a row that's happened on. So that was a bit disappointing. And Valiant, you know, you need to get that sorted out. Because as comic book collectors, we don't want our books falling apart when we've read them like once. However, getting into the story, I loved like seeing all our Valiant heroes together, fighting together. That was excellent, and I loved seeing them actually have some strategy into how they're going to fight this big evil. That was really cool. I loved the scenes the most in this issue between Bloodshot and Geomancer, and what's going on there. Is that going to lead to Bloodshot being reborn? Because she's done something, because she's changed him. I'm really interested to see where next issue is going to go, the final part of the story. And one of the advantages of having an event be just 4 issues long is you don't get a wasted panel, a wasted page. There's no filler or going off on a bit of story that doesn't matter. Everything in this issue is gearing us towards where we're going, and nothing is wasted. Another good book from Valiant. I was tempted to deduct a star because the book for the second issue running fell apart, but I feel it's a bit unfair to kind of take that away from the book. I don't know if I should or should. So I'm gonna give it 5 stars, but it could have been lower, just because as comic collectors we don't want our books falling apart. So Valiant need to get that sorted. But yeah, other than that, I thought this was another great issue, and I give The Valiant issue number 3 5 stars out of 5. So moving on now back to Image, and we have the Autumnlands Tooth and Claw issue number 4. I love this issue. We get to see more of our character on the cover there, Dusty, so that was really cool. Get to see him team up with Leroyd, and that was great. You kind of question what Leroyd's up to, and what's his plan. Because all the characters in this, there's a kind of like there's stuff going on. There's a lot of characters in this you can't really trust. So there's a lot of manoeuvring and political manoeuvring going on. So that's all really cool. Story's just building every issue nicely, and I'd say by this stage I'm pretty much hooked on this series now. Really good, really interested in where it's going, and I give the Autumnlands Tooth and Claw issue number 4 5 stars out of 5. So our final indie book this week, it is from Image. It is Bitch Planet issue number 3. I really liked this. This was good. This issue we haven't got a regular artist, and because of that, what Kelly Sue DeConnick has done is she's taken one of the characters from Bitch Planet and we get her backstory, and I thought that was a fantastic thing to do, that every 3 issues we're going to get this, looking at one character and their backstory. So that is brilliant. I love that. This issue is the turn of Penny Roll, as you can see there, and it is a fantastic kind of origin or what border to where we see, and it really fleshed out the character a lot more and made me care about it. There's like the great bit in the beginning where kind of this guy's reading her charges out, and like she was basically insubordination, assault, repeated citations for amnesic offences, capillary disfigurement, and wanton obesity. So like basically one of the reasons she was sent to Bitch Planet and arrested was because she was overweight, and that is just insane. But then you kind of think about the world we live in today, and like how you have magazines and they make women these stick insects in these magazines, and women think they have to live up to that image. And kind of, you could argue it's a crime already to be obese in the society we live in. And I think that's what I'm liking about the book, is how Kelly Sue's taking those kind of things, kind of like Lazarus does, taking things that we see in our world today and kind of saying where we could go with this if things went really bad. So that's something I really enjoyed about this issue, and it really made me be more on the side of Penny Roll here and really sympathise with her, because I've been overweight all my life, and I struggled. There were points in my life where I lost a lot of weight and I was really skinny, but I still felt really fat. And I was my happiest when I put weight on. When I put weight on and I got really fat, I was my happiest, because I was how I thought everybody else saw me. That's the image I saw when I saw the mirror. Whether I was skinny or not, I saw myself always as fat. So once I was fat, I found more at peace. If that probably sounds insane, but so I really, though I'm not a woman, I really sympathised, and maybe sympathised the wrong word, but I really, I really understood where the character of Penny Roll was coming from, and I really liked her character, and I felt like I was on her side. It's a nightmarish world that they're living on in this book, but like I said, I like the links to where we are right now. I love the twist at the end of this book. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed that. And again, like I've just said, I can really empathise with why she feels that way. This was just a really good issue, and I give Bitch Planet issue number 3 5 stars out of 5. So those are our indie reviews. We're going to finish the video off now as we review the books from DC. So a final part of the video, and we've got 6 books from DC to review. So first up, we have our weeklies. We have Future's End, issue number 42. I'm still really enjoying this series. It's just been brilliant. The arrival of Brainiac on Earth is pushing things forward. And like I said, I think I said last week, the pace of the story isn't the same kind of pace you'd get with a monthly book. But it works because it's a weekly, so you can get away with slightly slower and the story moving forward slower, because it's a weekly, so you can get away with that. We get to see a lot of cool stuff this issue. We get to see the heroes battling Brainiac. We get to see what happened to the Atom. We see the return of Shazam. We get to see more of our Batman of the future. So there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on in this issue. We find out that Brainiac, I thought Brainiac and Brother Eye were the same thing, but we get to find out that Brother Eye is not Brainiac, and that kind of relieves me a bit, because I was concerned that this book was just going to be a setup for Convergence. But now that we got the Brother Eye thing is separate, I'm kind of seeing that, yeah, while the Brainiac bit that might lead to Convergence, but that this story on its own is going to be tied up, and we're going to see what happens with the Brother Eye thing after Brainiac. So I feel that there's kind of like 2 big things that are going to happen, and we're going to get a complete story. It's going to be the Brother Eye stuff. So I feel a lot more happier about where this book might be going in the future. The end, every issue of this book catches me by surprise. I'm just so enjoying the book. And I come to that like page that shows you next issue, and I'm like, wow, where's the rest of the book? I was enjoying that, which isn't a bad thing when the end gets to you too soon. So yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. I'm still really enjoying it. It was one of my surprise hits of 2014, and this is the book that just keeps giving. And I give Future's End, issue number 42, 5 stars out of 5. Our other weekly, Batman Eternal, issue number 46, has been on a bit of a disappointing downturn the past couple of weeks, and sadly we carry on that downturn this issue. While there are some good things in this issue, I love the showdown between Batman and Ra's al Ghul, and some of the dialogue there is brilliant. I love that scene. And the stuff going on with Catwoman is interesting because I think ultimately that's going to lead to who the big bad is behind everything that's happened in Gotham. But other than that, the book really just feels like it's running around in circles and not really going anywhere. That we're kind of spinning our wheels in the same place. That here we are, not about a month away from the conclusion, and we're no closer, it feels, to finding out who the big bad is, and getting all of this resolved. It seems that the longer they leave revealing who it is, the less the time we've got to sort everything out. And it's going to feel rushed at the end, which I'm hoping it won't. So yeah, it was disappointing for that. Also the art, this issue, I felt some of the characters looked a lot different. And that's a problem with the artist every issue. And I know every artist is going to have their own kind of style. But some artists make Alfred look older than others. And kind of it throws you off. And I wish there'd be kind of a consistent look, even if you're going to have different artists. So yeah, I felt... After all, while I was disappointed in the main, I think the good balances out the bad, and I'd give this book 3 stars out of 5. Next up we have Batman and Robin issue 39. This was a bittersweet reading experience because while I really enjoyed the book, it's sad knowing it's going to come to an end soon. Not only does Tomasi write the dynamic between Batman, Damian and Alfred well, he also writes the character of Damian really well. In anyone else's hands, Damian could be a really unlikable character, but here he makes him a character you can root for. The issue starts off with Damian going after the villains to kind of scare all the villains into this is how things are going to be from now on. He's trying to scare them all with his new powers. But things go wrong and Batman has to turn up to help him out, which Damian isn't impressed with. And they then go on a fishing trip, which is really great. They then go on a fishing trip where Batman kind of explains to Damian why he's got superpowers now. Bruce is then kind of worried about how Damian's coping with his powers. So he gets called by the Justice League and he takes Damian, and he ends up taking Damian with him. So Damian gets to hang out with Superman and Shazam. I really like the two characters of Damian and Shazam interacting because there's similarities to them, but then there's differences. Like Shazam is a child like Damian who has superpowers. So but Shazam seems a bit more wide-eyed innocence, where Damian is a trained assassin, so there's that kind of cold streak with Damian. So they make an interesting partnership. So I like those two characters playing off each other. And Superman is another character who can relate to Damian because he grew up with powers, so he can kind of relate to how Damian's going. So I think it's really interesting bringing those characters into the story. Batman then, the briefing on what's happened, Damian proves really useful, and his knowledge comes in really handy. And the issue ends with Batman making the decision to take Damian with him on the mission. So really great issue, really enjoyed it all the way through. Great stuff. Sad that Tomasi's time on the book's coming to an end, but I really enjoyed this. The art as well by Patrick Gleason was great, and I give Batman and Robin issue number 39 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Teen Titans issue number 7. I managed to get it. I went back and managed to get it. I'm really loving this book. I love things with evil scientists is cool. This issue we get to see the fallout from last issue as some kind of terrorist kind of scientists broke into Star Labs, found these secret weapons and blew up Governor's Island. And now they've got this device that can slow down time, so that they can do stuff that would take days and the rest of the world would move moving in seconds. And they're going to erase Manhattan from existence because it's going to get the most media attention. We don't know who they are and we don't know their overall plan, so there's a bit of a mystery to them. Are they linked to Manchester Black? He's a bit of a mysterious character. We don't know his motives yet. Are they all linked? We don't know. And that's a great thing coming out of this book, is there's a lot of mystery and a lot of intriguing things we've got to find out. I really liked this issue. I thought Beast Boy and Raven I thought they really shone in this issue and were given time to shine. Beast Boy, I like the things they have him change into. Like, when he thinks there's radiation, he turns into a wolf, because around Chernobyl there were still wolves living, so the radiation doesn't affect them as much. When time slows down, he turns into a mayfly, so he's not frozen like the others. So there's some really interesting stuff that they do with him here, and I really like what they have him change into. Raven as well, I really like her character in this. I'm not completely sold on the costume with the whole thing over her eyes, but I'm really liking the character. Really enjoying this book so far, and I give issue 7 of Teen Titans 5 stars out of 5. So our penultimate DC book is the Multiversity, issue 1 of the Mastermen. I went into this a bit uneasy with the writers. I believe the writers of Superman, or the creators, sorry, of Superman, were Jewish, and here Superman is a Nazi. I was a bit uncomfortable with that, and also I was a bit uncomfortable or a bit tired of seeing stories with evil Superman. You know, it seems we've seen a lot of them lately, and you get to a point where, okay, I've seen enough. But I really enjoyed this portrayal of Superman. Here he's called Overman, and I really enjoy his portrayal. Very interesting character, in that he's got all these regrets for the things that he's done, and this guilt, and the death of Overgirl has really affected him, and I really found that interesting, and made him a very interesting character. I would have liked to have seen more of Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters, but I enjoyed seeing Overman and all the kind of like this like Nazi version of the Justice League, because like in this story, Overman helped Hitler win the Second World War, and so now, you know, the world's kind of a Nazi planet. I was, at the end of this, I was disappointed, not because it wasn't good, but just because where other books have left me wanting more, I still felt I had got a complete story. With this book, I felt this was the first chapter of a series, of a book, or of a series, and I wanted to see what happened next. I wanted to see more of Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters. I wanted to see where the journey that Overman was on was going to take him. Learn more about the other of this Nazi journey in Justice League. Learn more about them, and yeah, there's still so much in this book I wanted to see, and just at the end, it was disappointing. We weren't going to get no more of this. So, and that was the first book where it's really hit me that hard. So I would give the Multiversity Mastermen issue number 1 4 stars out of 5. So our final book this week, it is Justice League issue number 39. Loved the cover. The art in here is fantastic. I'm really enjoying the art of Jason Fabok. He's doing a great job on this book. Of course, this is the Amazo virus has taken over and is controlling the Justice League, and the only members that are left are Lex Luthor, Captain Cold, and Wonder Woman, and they're having to fight the Justice League. So that's all really cool. How are they going to save the day? I really enjoyed this issue. I loved the scenes and the dialogue between Superman and Lex Luthor, and Wonder Woman and Captain Cold. There were two great scenes. There's some great interplay between the characters. The consequences of this story are really interesting. It's kind of like what Marvel have done with the Inhumans. You know, there's all these superpowered people now, and that's going to be interesting where that's going to go, and if that's going to bleed into other books. And the last page, the return of a character, one of my favourite characters to the book, is just fantastic, and I'd be geeking out and screaming like a girl. But yeah, this was just excellent all the way through. If you dropped Justice League, now's the time to get on board again. Get the Amazo virus, all the issues that led up to this conclusion, because certainly with this issue and where it's going in the future, it looks good days are ahead. And this creative team of Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok are just kicking it on all cylinders, and it's been a really good book, and it's probably no surprise that I make Justice League issue number 39 my pick of the week. So those are my reviews for this week. I'm sorry about the length of the video, though, you know, to get through 23 books, it's going to take a fair amount of video. So something I started last week was I'm going to add up the totals of the books and divide them and see that the average score and see which company comes out top. Last week it was Marvel came out on top. This week Marvel dropped down to 3rd place. They got a 4.4 average rating for their books. After them came DC with an average rating of 4.5. So the winners with the best books this week was the indie books, and they got an average rating of 4.7 per book. So you know that was good going on the indies there. They did the better books this week. This is the part of the video where I usually say I will be back next week. At the moment I don't know. I start my new job tomorrow. I won't get paid until the end of March. I've made my wages, my last wage for my last job that I got in December. I've made that last me all the way through January and February, which was a pretty difficult thing to do, I can tell you. And now I'm kind of trying to find the money for my bills for March. So I'm not going to be able to get my comics probably. Unless I get a miracle happen, it's probably going to be the end of March I pick up my books. So most likely I won't be having no books this week, so there may not be no videos. Once I get my books, I'm going to have to think up how I'm going to do the reviews and stuff. I don't quite know, because it's going to take me probably, you know, it's going to take me a few weeks probably to get through a month's worth of books, reading wise, before I get, even if I got the money to start buying books every week, it's still going to take me a few weeks to get through stuff. So but anywho, I will be back at some point in the future, that's a promise. But if I'm not around next week, that will be the reason why. But I will be back. Thank you very much for watching my video and sticking with it to the end. Please, if you did enjoy it, give me those beautiful thumbs up. Let me know you like what I'm doing. I will see you again at some point down the road. I've been Jason. These have been my comic book reviews. Bye for now.